IHI Books presents Bertin's River Part 7, a novel by Jan Gary Cantav. Background music by Fula, featuring my late friend Tito, composer, singer, and guitarist.
Chapter 18. The day I became a Christian missionary. I stood at the entrance door at Vivian's small apartment for about a minute. No one noticed my presence. Vivian and her two boys were very busy emptying a large cardboard box that looked even bigger in the small front room of their two-room apartment. They reminded me of children opening gifts on Christmas Day. They were giggling, chatting while working. Their happiness was palpable. I scratched my throat once, twice, and they all turned at once, surprised and uncomfortable to have been observed unknowingly for God knows how long. "Come in," Vivian said joyfully, making a large scooping gesture with her left hand inviting me in. The front room was transformed into a mini market. There was a lot of stuff on the floor, and I had difficulty finding a clear path to get into the room. "You see all this stuff," Vivian said, as I was walking in. "My sister in America sent them to me." She had no real blood sister in America. Her sister was simply a very good old friend. The box had a lot of canned foods, bags of rice, beans, spaghetti, clothes, shoes, and more, enough to feed and clothe a small army regiment. It was one of those big boxes you buy at a U-Haul store or other places specializing in moving. A quarter of the stuff was already out. There was no place to seat. The chairs, the tables, the floor were literally littered with all this stuff. "Can you help?" Vivian gladly asked. "I can use an extra hand to bag those things," she added. I then realized that she had a lot of mid-sized black plastic bags that she was filling with her children's help. The plastic bags had names on them. There were many bags, more than a dozen at the time. I paused for a moment, reflecting on what I was witnessing. There she was, Vivian, a woman with very limited means, with children to feed and care for, sharing with others what her sister in the U.S. sent to her for her personal use. Her sister knew that her situation was very precarious, especially after the death of her husband 5 years ago. Witnessing such great charitable inclination from a quite frankly poor lady who had all the reasons on earth to care only for her own self and her children, I had to control myself to not burst into tears. I easily tear. I tear for sadness, for beauty, for greatness, especially for greatness. It's my secret disease. I just witnessed pure greatness, pure love for others, and I felt on the verge of embarrassing myself by tearing up like a little child in their presence. Like most people in Bertin, Vivian does not have a real job. She washes people's dirty laundry for a fee. She has a few regular clients in the neighborhood. Doing the laundry is a harsh job, and the compensation is small. It's not like in the U.S. where you dump your clothes in a washing machine with enough water and soap and spends the rest of the time watching soap opera until it is time to go transfer them to the dryer. No. In Haiti, in 99% of the households, your bare hands are the washing machine, and you swish and swish and swish until your elbows hurt, until your knuckles lose half of their melanin. To make matters worse, sometimes, some garments are returned by unsatisfied clients for a second free wash because a resilient spot did not vanish. Watching this woman filling those bags with so much care and so much joy, I realized that she was actually a real Christian missionary in her own neighborhood. The kind of Christian missionary I wished with all my heart to be. My emotions became so overwhelming that I had to leave the room to hide behind the house and shed a few tears. I became very emotional. Vivian was a poor person helping the poor. She was actually a very effective and unsung Christian missionary in her own country. She did not have access to large audiences in million-dollar churches to broadcast her testimony to the world. She did not have to travel far to find the needy. Her needy neighbors, this young pregnant girl who got kicked out of her house because she got pregnant, this man, head of the household who've lost his job since cucumbers were fighting against eggplants, who since lost the respect of his family, this mother of 5 who has no hope, were the people she served. The people like herself, one of the many who are trying to stay alive in a country that's too tired and wants to die. After composing myself, I came back to the room and picked up a bag and started filling it myself. At that time, without any church pastor, without any board approval, I became an official Christian missionary. For a moment I felt very strange. It's like I could not see the whole room. My vision field was reduced to only the bag in front of me. Later I will learn that this is called tunnel vision. I could not hear well either. This feeling dissipated as quickly as it came, however. For the whole time, I really felt that I was doing something of utmost importance. I was putting a few things in small bags to give away to those in need. I was able to bring hope to the hopeless. Thanks to Vivian, I was an integral part of a Christian mission. I was indeed a Christian missionary. After filling enough bags, about 30, the small crew made of Vivian, her children, and I, we happily hit the road to deliver the goods. The beneficiaries of our small donations were very happy to see us. They were also very surprised to see me being involved in this kind of activity. You see, I am supposed to be this rich, old, and crazy man who left the U.S. for Bertin. At least they expected to see me enjoying myself, running after young girls who could well be my daughters and even my granddaughters, like a lot of creepy Haitian Americans do. They create their own cheap fantasy life. In their pursuit of selfish happiness, in their pursuit of the fountain of youth, beautiful, poor, innocent, defenseless young girls are being abused and wasted. The more Vivian and I spent time together, the closer we got to each other. After just a few weeks since we distributed the goods in Bertin, we could call ourselves best friends. I felt confident that we would be able to keep our relationship on the friendship side, especially because she was such a reserved and respectable, mature lady. Chapter 19. The day the river turned pink. One afternoon, I was walking alone by the river, and from a distance I could see a woman washing clothes and singing. Singing can give workers the stamina to keep working, even when they are near exhaustion. Although she was not singing loud, the wind carried her voice to my ears. As I got closer and closer, the voice became more distinct. I could hear that she was singing a familiar Christian tune, a hymn that I heard for the first time in Vivian's church. The lady had no idea that someone was approaching, since I was coming from behind her back, and the wind direction worked in my advantage. It soon became clear to me that the lady was no one else but Vivian. I quickly decided to surprise her and did my best to not reveal my presence. I was now close enough to see her distinctly. I carefully stepped into the river to make my final steps. She was still singing and swishing a large white cover sheet. Her untrained voice was pleasant to hear. The sound of the river and her voice harmonized well. I was almost at the point where I could cover her eyes from the back and ask her who I was, a game that we like to do in Haiti. But I slipped on a slippery rock and fell in the water. She swiftly twisted her body to see who it was. When she realized that it was me, her eyes flickered quickly from wide open to what only Haitian women do with art and grace, a yeux doux, a goo-goo eye. I didn't know what to do. She was so beautiful. The moment was so beautiful that I forgot all the good reasons why I should stay away from relationships of that nature. I forgot that I was burnt twice by women who promised to love and cherish me in good and bad days. I grabbed her wet and soapy hands, and like in a dance, I turned her body towards mine and pressed her against my chest. She offered no resistance, and her whole self, body, and soul seemed to enjoy and prolong the moment. I could hear the river flowing at our feet, an infinite yanvalu that filled our minds and souls. I could hear a few distant birds singing. I could hear that she was breathing faster and louder. I could feel her body slightly trembling against mine. Her long, uncombed black hair covered part of her face. With one hand I cleared the hair from her face, and like an awkward teenage boy I proceeded to kiss her on her lips. My lips were about to touch hers when she pulled herself away with the agility of a gazelle. "No, not now, not here," she whispered. I was perplexed and a little bit disappointed. She continued, "Meet me tonight at you-know-where." She was too shy to call it by name, but pointed in the direction of Kach. "Maybe I'll let you kiss me there," she added. I was surprised that such an uptight and respectable mature lady wished to have a date at night with a man in such a disreputable place. I wanted to inquire about her interest in such a place, but I did not want to ruin the moment and kept quiet. Later I will learn that it was a simple childish dream she never fulfilled. I was her last chance, and she did not want to get it wrong. Viviane was almost done with her laundry. I waited for her to finish and walked her home. I was glad to be with her. As strange as it may appear at my age, I thought or felt that I was madly in love with that woman. I helped her carry the laundry to her house. The sun goes down early during the winter. I was glad that it was so. I could not wait to go meet my new love at this little corner of paradise in Bertin. The sky was quite dark when I left my house to go to this very special rendezvous. I did not know how to hide my happiness, and I thought that everybody in Bertin could see, just by looking at me, that I was in love. I was whistling, kicking rocks, cans, and humming happy tunes on my way. After about 20-30 minutes of walking, I got to the point where I must cross the river to reach my destination. Her house was on the other side of the river, and she didn't have to cross. When I got to the point of crossing, the water was so high that it was impossible to get to the other side. I was crushed. No. What's going on? Unable to cross the river, I called Viviane and told her about the situation. She advised me to postpone it for another time. If I had to walk back all the way to the bridge to cross the river there, it would take at least an extra hour. The night becomes too dangerous when it is very late. We kissed goodbye over the phone, and I went back home. I was very disappointed. Missing my first date with a woman I already felt so much in love with was devastating. I went back home. We talked for a short time on the phone. We did not want to raise any suspicion from her children. Memories of the cry of death I heard this morning reminded me that we were very lucky to be alive. The river saved our lives. If it were flat as usual, I would have been at Kashkash with Viviane, and Grimo could have made 2 other victims. Around midday, I followed the same path I took last night, like I was going back to Kashkash. The police and other authorities in the locality were winding down their investigation. Some curious people were still there, and they were commenting loudly about the event of the day. The bodies were already released to the respective parents and were taken to the regional morgue. I went back to Kashkash, not really to be there, but rather to visit the river, to say thank you. I was lost in my thoughts, contemplating the water flowing flawlessly when I felt a hand tapping my back. Viviane was there too. I guess for the same reason, to thank the river for sparing both of our lives. I held Viviane's hands, and together we turned towards Kashkash. Her hands were surprisingly smooth for someone who works so much and so hard. Kashkash was so close but looked so far. Without sharing a word, we knew that Kashkash will no longer witness our romance. The memory of the absurd and cruel death of Antonio and Altagracia would be too painful to ignore.
Background music by Fula, featuring my late friend Tito, composer, singer, and guitarist.
End of Part 7.